All righty. Hey, George, thanks for joining us on our Lessons from Multi-Unit series. How you doing today?
Great. My pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
Glad
we're,
to be a part.
yeah, we're happy to have you. To kick us off before we dive into some questions, can you kind of just give us a little intro of yourself and kind of what your franchise portfolio looks like today?
Okay. My name is George Tinsley, and I have been in the restaurant business since 1976 and started off in the business on the corporate side where I worked for 8 years. I started off as a training instructor, given my teaching background from the school system. I started off with KFC, actually working with the colonel, the real colonel. Back in 76, we opened a training school there in Louisville, Kentucky, and worked with all the different franchisees that were either getting started in the system or that had been in the system and needed to come back for retraining. So it was on the job training for me. My teaching and coaching background helped me be able to be on a very upward motive learning scale to learn business, and did a lot of on the job training out in the restaurants, traveling around the United States, visiting with other franchisees as I put together different training programs, so train a trainer and skills training in the restaurant and problem solving and so forth. So I went from there on through as a supervisor with KFC, running restaurants in Atlanta, Georgia, and back to corporate as in the human resource area with several regions. Then I got a chance to become after that, moved into the franchising side where I was a franchise manager, which was a liaison between the corporation and the actual franchisees in the system, working with them to help develop their restaurants. Did that for 3 years in South Georgia, North Florida, and working with probably about 26 franchisees with over 250 restaurants around that area. And at the end of 3 years, I got an opportunity to become a franchisee myself. Opened my first franchise in 1984 in Arbondale, Florida, Central Florida. And subsequently, in the next 3-4 years, we opened 3 more restaurants. They were very successful, all except the last one, which the trade area didn't materialize. So started diversifying after that, got into the airport business in Tampa with TGI Fridays. Ran that restaurant for over 25 years, along with the KFC. And we also started developing and becoming partners in different concepts through in Tampa, in Miami, and in Louisville, Kentucky, where we had several different brands, including Starbucks, Chili's, P.F. Chang's, Payway, Wendy's, and Columbia Restaurant, and a number of other brands, both quick service and the coffee and so forth. So quite a wide variety there of different franchise scenarios, and also we developed some of our own concepts in the different airports of Louisville and Miami in particular.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very impressive portfolio. And like you said, a wide range of concepts. So that leads well to the next question. I'd be really curious to hear your answer here. When you're evaluating a new franchise to add to your portfolio, whether it be TGI Fridays, any brand, what do you look for? How do you evaluate a brand before you invest in it?
Well, I start off with the brands, how strong the brand in itself is itself, both historically and also moving forward, because it really doesn't make sense to get involved with a franchise if they don't have a strong brand with strong resources within that helps the franchisee be successful. You certainly don't want to get in bed with a franchisor that's not strong, not sure where they're going, doesn't have a good franchise system, doesn't have a good corporate system out there on the on the street. So that's a very big part of it. What their track record has been in working with their franchisees, talking to franchisees, and seeing how they feel about the brand. Especially in marketing, especially in store site selections and so forth. Because most strong franchisees, they're going to have a territory that they will guide the franchisee to that particular area versus letting franchisee just go willy-nilly and start developing restaurants all over the area. So as a franchisee, you're really in competition with your franchisor in a sense, because you have a trade area, they have a trade area. And if they're not running their restaurant well, then that's going to impact your business. If you're not running yours well, that's going to impact the system. So all of that kind of goes into the picture. And then, of course, having your own team, developing your own team to be able to do an excellent job of running the business in service, cleanliness, and product preparation, and making sure you get those customers to come back on a regular basis versus once every 6 months, 6 months or so. So got to be involved. You got to have an incentive program for, when I say you, meaning the franchisor, has to lead the way in having a good incentive program that the franchisee can marry into, either tweak it and make it better, or whatever they decide to do. But it's always good when you have those motivational programs within to take care of the employees, motivating them, top quality standards that are in place, that you can develop your own programs around those programs and making them better, making them work for you as a positive. But understanding that the brand is the lead, the franchisor is the lead, and you have to follow, not deviate, and do something different like Tinsley's, whatever concept it is. So that's a very critical point. So I look for strong franchise contracts that the franchisee is the lead, and they have the experience, and you have to be willing to follow in those guidance and not deviate and doing something totally different, because that just kind of destroys the whole team concept of what you have going there. So a lot of those things, and as much research as you can do, the better opportunity you have.
Yeah, well said. Those are really, really great points. So I would be curious to hear this question too. I want to hear your answer. As you were scaling, like you said, over the past couple decades, scaling multiple units, multiple concepts, were there any big roadblocks that you had to overcome when you're looking back on your history? Any big moments that you thought, wow, that was a big roadblock and we overcame it and pushed through?
Well, the guide that I've taken and is due to experience, and that is that buying existing franchise or franchisor concepts would not be my choice of growth. I would rather develop my own. I'd rather build a brand new location, develop a excellent relationship within that community, versus taking over one that has a bad reputation, bad track record, and trying to turn it around. Because once you ruin your reputation in a community, it's extremely hard and costly to turn around. So historically, where I have purchased existing restaurants that have not been as successful as those that I have built from the ground up. So, and in the airport is a total different situation there, because you're developing everything new. You're not taking over existing sites, and it's a little bit of a different situation. But on the street, that's the primary thing, and taking your time as far as development and not trying to grow too fast, bigger is not always better. It's better to have 5 great running restaurants than to have 100 restaurants that some are running good and some are running poorly, because it impacts your overall market.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Yeah, that's great insight. In fact, that was going to be our last question, was just any advice you have for franchisees who maybe they have 1 location or 2 and they're thinking, I want to become the next great multi-unit franchisee with 50 locations, 100 locations. Any advice that you would share with them?
Well, if they're, depending upon where they are, your question is if they're 1 or 2 locations and they want to become a 100 store operator, then I would advise you to take your time, making sure that your infrastructure is in place, that you understand, your markets, and as you develop slowly is what my recommendation would be. Not growing too fast. Obviously, if it's a great deal and you have a great team to be able to step in there and run it, and you're not undercapitalized, your capitalization is in place, then it's a business decision. And in these restaurants and these franchises, it's business, so it's not a given. You got to get in there and you got to work hard. You can't get in there and grab and turn it over to someone else to run because they're going to run it the way they want it versus the way you want it. So it depends upon your skill set, your experience, how long you've been in the business. Excuse me, and research of the markets that you're looking at growing in. And as I mentioned, my preference is growing from the ground up versus buying existing restaurants, because when you buy existing, you don't know what you're getting, and people are not selling those restaurants that are not performing, so that are excuse me, that are performing well. So just be very, very careful.
Yeah, I think that's really great insight. Well, that was great. Thank you for answering all our questions. I wanted to open the floor while we have you for one last thing. Is there anything else about your story that you'd like our audience to know, or anything we didn't talk about today that you'd like to promote, or you'd like to point out to our audience?
Well, certainly I'd like for you to go to my website, the audience to go to my website, which is tinsley.speaks.com. And we have a number of different opportunities that I'm looking at in speaking and coaching and counseling, as well as my latest autobiography that I'm just releasing in July. It's called Catch as Catch Can. It's a autobiography of my life story, which is turning obstacles to opportunity, and seeing how if there's something in that book that will motivate you to be as successful as you can. And my story is a quite unique story, a mixture of professional athlete, being a professional athlete, and then becoming a business owner, coming from a tough situation as a child, and growing through that, and getting a great education and going to a great school, and being able to turn that around. If you're a married couple, I've been married 52 years. My wife's a big part of our business, as she runs the office, and we get very heavily involved in the community, and we won all kinds of awards in the community. We've had a lot of employees that come through our system to go on to be doctors, lawyers, and ministers, and so forth. So it's a great story that I think would be very beneficial to anyone that is looking for motivation.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll make sure to link to that in this article write-up. But we really appreciate you taking the time to chat, George. It was an honor to talk with you, and we're excited to feature you in this Lessons from Multi-Unit Franchisees series.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.